How's it going, guys? Randall aka Shizukatz here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel. Today I'll be profiling one of the new builds for Aobuta, using some of the new cards from the second set, Rascal Does Not Dream of a Dreaming Girl. This set's been out for a few years already in the Japanese format, and unfortunately is a bit behind in terms of set strength. However, the deck I'll be featuring today is one that I think has a pretty decent shot at taking on some of these more modern decks. Let's take a look. We'll be taking a look at an 8-choice list today, featuring the level 1 Mai and level 3 Nodoka combos from the new set. The level 1 Mai combo is, in my opinion, one of the best level 1 Climax combo archetypes in the game. On attack, if you have 2 or more other Adolescence characters, you can send up to 3 cards from the top of your deck to Waiting Room, then salvage a level X or lower Adolescence character, where X is the number of Adolescence characters sent to Waiting Room. Then she gains +1 level for the turn. In order to understand what makes this ability profile so strong, let's briefly compare Mai to a couple other Climax combos. Mikasa from AOT has the flexibility to mill anywhere from 1 to 4 cards, but lacks selectivity since it's only able to choose from the cards revealed. Shizu from Tensura lacks the flexibility of mill, and always has to mill exactly 2 cards from the deck, but has the selectivity of the Waiting Room. Mai is able to have both flexibility of mill as well as the selectivity of the Waiting Room, making her an extremely solid level 1 combo to use. You can even choose to mill 0 cards and still salvage a level 0 character. Her other ability gives her 1000 extra power during your own turn. This brings her offense up to 6500 with Climax, which isn't the greatest, and unfortunately is the card's major downfall. We would have much rather had the combo gain an additional 500 power rather than the +1 level, but I can't really complain too much when the Climax combo itself is as strong as it is already. At level 3 we have the Nodoka Choice combo. On play we can look at up to 3 cards from the top of our deck, add 1 to hand, and send the rest to the Waiting Room. This is great for digging for important pieces such as our Climax or other finishers, or simply just to maintain hand size to pay costs. Her combo activates on Climax placement. Pay 1 and discard a card to give both herself and one of our other characters the Musashi effect. That is, when their damage is cancelled, we send the top card of our deck to Waiting Room, check the level of that card, and deal damage to our opponent equal to that level +1. As the burn damage is based on levels, having higher levels in the deck can result in higher damage potential. And because Nodoka puts the ability on another character as well as herself, we ideally want to pair her up with other characters that have high damage potential, as they are more likely to get cancelled and proc the Musashi ability. Among the deck options in Set 2, this is the one that I feel is able to have the most flexibility in deck building, and thus is in the best position to play tech cards that can address common meta threats. Other Climax combo setups in Aobuta, such as the Book level 1 Futaba Change combo, or the Pants level 3 Shoko combo, have a lot more hoops to jump through with regards to deck building. I'll be pointing out any specific tech cards and their reasoning throughout the deck profile. Now let's start with the level 0 line. Our ideal turn 1 play is the Nodoka level 0 from set 1. She's a mill runner, allowing her to run away from danger as long as we mill an Adolescence character at the start of our opponent's attack phase. Additionally, she gains 1k during our turn, letting her attack at a solid 3k power. A good card to pair with the Nodoka is our next level 0, Laplace's Demon, Tomoe Koga. On attack, she can give 1500 power to any of our Adolescence characters, and on play, she lets us check the top 2 cards of our deck and rearrange them in the order we want. The top check to rearrange can help Nodoka guarantee the mill runner effect in the early turns, by putting an Adolescence character as the second card of our deck. That being said, both of Koga's abilities are very useful throughout the entire game for granting us knowledge and allowing us to scale over big threats. The next card on our list is a tech choice, the level 0 Shoko. She has a bottom deck bomb effect, allowing us to hard remove cards with high impact on death effects, like the Aqua and Laplace level 0s in Hololive. In addition, she has on-play mill 2, and if we mill a Climax, we give -1k to one of our opponent's front row characters. It's a bit of incidental mill that we can throw in for some extra deck speed, but we mainly care about her removal effect, as well as the fact that she's blue for a few of our late game level 3s. Moving into our utility cards, we have 3 copies of the Shoko Brainstorm. She's a Rest Self Search Brainstorm, and when we play any Climax, we give one of our characters +500 power and +1 level for the turn. Unfortunately, Set 2 did not give us a Rest Self Salvage Brainstorm, and the Shoko is the better Search Brainstorm between the 2 available. Nevertheless, having a Brainstorm is always a useful tool to help mill through the deck or try to get additional cards, and the extra power on playing a Climax can be helpful for reaching certain power lines. Just watch out for the extra level though, as that can actually end up being a downside sometimes if it causes you to get anti-changed. For on-play utilities, I run 1 Drop Search Shoko and 2 Drop Salvage Mai. Both of these have the same on-play effect. Mill 2, and if there's a Climax, give 1500 anywhere. Between the Search Shoko and Salvage Mai, I chose to run more copies of the Mai because of the deck's lack of a Salvage Brainstorm. Additionally, being red is a nice bonus in case we need to level it for color, whereas green isn't a color that we need in this deck. 1 copy of the Kaede Climax Swapper can help us secure the correct Climax for our combos. Additionally, she has a Rest 2 ability that buffs 2k power to one of our characters, which isn't hugely relevant since neither of our Climax combos require reversing, but can just be nice overall to swing over opposing characters if the situation allows. Our final level 0 in the deck is the Mai promo. When placed on stage from hand, we can clock an Adolescence character from our hand to look at up to 3 cards from the top of the deck, add one of them to hand, and send the rest to waiting room. This ability and cost can be used in many ways, getting us to level up, acquiring a needed color, digging for specific cards, or even just to get through the deck. Now let's check out some of our accompanying level 1s. I run 2 copies of this level 1 Mai, which has an on-play ability. When she's placed, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's level 0, she gets plus 3000 power for the turn, bringing her up to a very solid 7500 power. If it's not a level 0, we can draw the revealed card and discard a card, and she still gets plus 1000 power for the turn. This can be an excellent tool for beating over characters that our level 1 combo can't scale over, while also potentially being a filter to get cards in or out of our hand. You can also combine her with cards like the level 0 Koga, rearranging the top 2 so that you can draw the top card or get a big burst of power. Or the level 3 Kaede, to check if there's a level 0 on top of the deck to get the stock refund. She's a very interesting card that doesn't always produce consistent results, but has benefits in both directions. I also run 1 copy of the 1/0 Mai Time Machine. Time Machine is a term we use to describe a card that sends itself to memory until your next turn, which Mai can accomplish by reversing an enemy character. This ability allows the Mai to guarantee you an extra card to use on your next turn. There are multiple reasons as to why I only run 1 copy. First of all, it can be difficult to secure multiple reverses on multiple enemy characters, especially when her base power is only 5000. And secondly, even if I could secure multiple reverses consistently, I wouldn't want to open up more than 1 line for direct attacks at the same time. The last level 1 I run in this deck is 2 copies of the 1/0 Sakata. He can rest himself to give another character 1500 power, which is fantastic for our level 1 Mai combo, which as I mentioned earlier, is a bit lacking in the offensive power department. His other ability has him sacrifice himself and discard 1 card to salvage any character from our waiting room. Similar to the level 0 Mai drop salvage from earlier, we want to have lots of cards that let us access the waiting room since our Brainstorm cannot, and this is a way to secure specific cards that doesn't require any stock. Moving on to our level 2s, we have another tech choice, the level 2 Kaede PR. She's an early play, requiring 4 Adolescence characters on stage to come out at level 1, and she has a downside where she can't stand if she's alone on stage at the start of my turn, which will basically never happen. The reason I run her in the deck is to address 1/1 characters that cannot be reversed by cost zeros, such as the 1/1 Blue Nino from Quince, or the 1/1 Ghislaine that's seeing a bit more play recently in Mushoku Tensei. In matchups where you don't need this card, feel free to chuck it into stock with a choice trigger and forget about it. The next level 2 I run is another tech choice, the level 2 Mai Anti-Change Reverser. Anti-Change bombs are pretty universally usable. Most decks these days run early plays in their decks. However, I specifically chose this card due to its secondary ability. She cannot be targeted by opposing effects. This can be game-winning in matchups that have high-impact defensive abilities that target, such as rest counters, so I want to keep this card in my back pocket versus decks that can utilize them, such as Hololive. For level 2 counters, I run a Memory Kick Futaba backup and an Anti-Change Mai backup. Against certain decks, either of these cards can present a very large threat to the status quo. The Anti-Change can discourage opponents from contesting you with early plays, letting you potentially maintain some value on your board. The Memory Kick counter is instrumental in countering specific finisher profiles that activate at the end of attack, such as Rimuru in 8-choice Tensura, or ones that require a full board, such as Attack on Titan's Armored Titan level 3, or Tokyo Revengers Baji. Moving on to our level 3 line, we start with 3 early play Kaedes. This is an excellent early play, a great condition of 4 more characters on stage, on play heal, and potentially refunds 1 stock if you top check a level 1 or lower on play. Her power isn't especially high at only 8500, but it's at just the right amount to be a bit difficult to contest with level 1s, so sometimes she'll be able to survive a turn and get some increased value. Even if she doesn't survive, hitting the top check for the stock refund and getting a 1-cost heal is usually enough to make us feel good about having put the card into our game plan. Finally, to finish the level 3 line, we have a whole bunch of 1-ofs. The first 2 are the level 3 Kaede and Koga, our supplementary finishers. Kaede has on-play salvage, gains some additional power on attack, and has on attack discard 2 to burn 1. The Koga simply gains power on play, and has an on-reverse restand ability. These 2 cards are run to be combined with the Nodoka combo. As mentioned earlier, Nodoka pairs well with cards that can output more instances of damage, since it means a higher chance to cancel and proc the Musashi burn ability. Next is our level 3 Nodoka, which we mainly run for her bounce effect. Against defensive decks with high impact counters, Nodoka can be an excellent tool to punch a hole in your opponent's defenses. Combining the Nodoka bounce with the untargetable level 2 Mai can be an excellent duo against opposing defensive options, since you can bounce one lane and then have one untargetable lane with the level 2 Mai. Finally, I run 1 copy of the level 3 Koga support. She has an on-play heal to stock, and is a 2k assist. She also has an act ability where you can pay 5 if both players are at level 3, and both players heal 4 damage. This isn't something that will come up too often, but is best used when you are deep into level 3 and your opponent is at 3-0 or 3-1, since they'll get basically no value from your effect. I mainly run this card as a just-in-case 4th healer, since the level 3 Nodoka combos do not heal. Incidentally, the power can be useful in certain matchups. For example, if you need to get bigger numbers on the Koga restand to secure the reverse. Alternatively, this Koga can be used to prepare a defensive turn as well, when you want to leverage your memory kit counter and need to be big in order to have your characters survive while attacking. A couple other options I think you could consider running are the level 0 Futaba and level 1 Nodoka. Both of these have a rest pay 2 to plus ability. Futaba lets you search a character from your deck, while Nodoka lets you salvage either a Mai or Nodoka. Additionally, they both have a second ability that gives you additional power. Futaba lets you give 1k to one of your characters at start of Climax phase, while Nodoka constantly gives all of your Mais and Nodokas plus 1k power during your turn. If you want a bit more consistency in your card advantage at the cost of some extra stock, consider giving one of these cards a try. Let's take a look at the game plan. In the Mulligan phase, we pretty much just want to discard anything that's not useful for our early game, so we prioritize keeping all our low-level cards and level 1 Climax combo pieces. Ideally, we have a card with a soul trigger in our hand to discard so that we have a target in case we trigger an early choice. At level 0, our ideal play going first is of course the Nodoka runner. By hitting her mill runner ability, we can try to maintain card advantage moving forward. Since this deck doesn't have any sort of Ricky profile to easily convert stock into cards, we'll want to take the early game slow and steady to build up our hand into the level 1 game. At the same time, Shoko Bottom Deck Bomb can be used to address high priority targets such as the aforementioned Aqua and Laplace. At level 1, we mainly want to use our Mai Climax combos to maintain hand and control our deck state. As her power level isn't natively super high, we can use effects like our Shoko Brainstorm or the level 1 Sakata to buff her up to a more respectable number. The Mai Time Machine can be treated as a substitution for a Climax combo if you can secure a reverse, since it guarantees us a card to play with during our next turn. At level 2, not too much changes. We can continue using Mai Climax combos to replenish hand, but now we can also use the Kaede early play. Since our level 3 game doesn't heal, now is the time to play our healers so that we can still be at a healthy range when we do eventually hit level 3. Finally, at level 3 it's time to unleash our finisher game plan. Typically we want to aim for 8 stock going into level 3, which allows us to play 2 Nodokas plus either Kaede or Koga level 3. Since Nodoka has to pay the cost for her Climax combo when we place the Climax, we need 6 stock for the 3 characters, and an additional 2 for 2 copies of the combo. Hand shouldn't be too much of a problem as Nodoka replaces herself on play, and can also dig for the missing pieces. The leveling pattern prioritizes yellow first for our level 1 game plan, and then red afterwards for cards like the level 1 Sakuta and Kaide early play. Finally, we level blue at level 3 for our Koga level 3s. Despite being behind the times, I think Aobuta has some pretty good tools if you want to try playing it. The build you play and the individual choices of cards you include in your deck definitely reflect what you prioritize as a player, which is part of what makes building this deck very fun. Do you want to aim for a consistent game plan with a lower ceiling by playing the Mai level 1 line? Or do you want to play a deck that shoots for the moon or dies trying, like the Futaba level 1 game? Feel free to try out some other combinations of combos in Aobuta and let us know what you like best. And this concludes my deck profile for 8-choice Aobuta. We'll be featuring this deck and a couple others in some of our upcoming gameplay videos, so stay tuned for those. Until then, this has been Randall, aka Shizukatz, on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and I'll see you in the next one.